Hello, today we're going to be unboxing and taking a look at the Zoom H4. Now this is a professional audio field recorder. Now what I've currently been using for my videos has been an H4n Pro. I'm going to show you the H4n Pro and why I decided to go ahead and upgrade to the Zoom F4. So as you can see on the table here, this is what I currently use to record my videos. It is a Zoom H4n Pro, the Pro model. I like it, but there is a few cons, which has prompted me to look to upgrade my equipment. As you can see, I am using an external microphone. I'm using the Electro-Voice ND76. And the things that I don't like about this is, well, it's not really built for external microphones. That's kind of like an afterthought. So you do have two XLR microphone inputs and TRS instrument inputs, but it really treats this as a stereo pair rather than separate microphones. But the one thing I don't like about it is it's mainly intended to be used using the onboard microphones. I did a few videos. I did an entire video series with my brother Abe, and turns out the entire time, instead of recording from the two XLR mics we had plugged in, we were recording with the onboard audio, and basically the audio turned out to be complete trash, and that whole project's pretty much thrown in the dumpster. I mean, I could edit and try to clean it up and upload videos, but my production standards, my quality standards have risen. And if the audio is not there and it's not well laid out, the video is not well laid out and organized and high quality, I'll just decide not to edit and upload it. So I still, going forward on Abe's personal build, we will be doing videos on it properly. But the whole building process, we'll just have to include just video only. But yeah, there's really no way to, the only way to know if you're recording through the XLR mics is these little things on the side, and you can't turn off the second input if you're not using it. They're linked together. I don't know if you can see, they're both red here. As you can see on the side here, both those two are red, and you can't turn off the second track. They're kind of linked together. But yeah, this is what I'm currently using to record the audio, the Zoom H4n Pro, and I have it mono mixed, so it'll mix the right channel with the left. But the device we're getting, the Zoom F4, is going to be a major step up. The preamp performance, major step up. The functionality, the versatility, the options available, big step up. So I'll tell you the differences here in a bit. Another con I don't like about the H4n Pro is it takes a really long time to start up. Depending on the SD card size you put in. I put in a 32 gig card. The thing takes like 50 minutes to boot. And if there's something I need to record really fast or whatever, it can be kind of inconvenient. Another thing is it operates off two AA batteries, which don't last as long as I really hope. I mean, as you can see, I probably need to replace the batteries before doing this shoot because it's on 1% there. You can power it via AC power with the DC jack, but they put it right in between both the XLR connectors, and it's not a locking jack. It's just a regular DC jack, so that can fall out. And if you're giving phantom to a microphone, you don't want to lose power when the microphone is hooked up. But let's go ahead and continue to show the Zoom F4. And I might go and grab the AC adapter for my Zoom H4n Pro so it doesn't lose battery. Okay, so here is the Zoom F4. This is a professional level field recorder, as I mentioned earlier, and it is a drastic upgrade compared to the Zoom H4n Pro. First off, the preamps are greatly improved. Now, I already told you when I did the video with the Zoom H4n Pro, the Zoom H4n Pro improved its preamps over the Zoom H4n. And the Zoom H4n had pretty bad preamps by today's standard, really bad. And the Zoom H4n Pro improved that to a minus 120 decibel EIN for the preamp noise floor, which minus 120 is, it's okay, it's good, but it's not the best performance. Also, the gain is greatly improved on the Zoom F4. The gain on the Zoom F4 can go up to 75 decibels, whereas on the H4n Pro, it can go up to 51. So the Zoom F4 will be able to easily drive microphones that are hard to drive, such as the Shure SM7B and the Electro-Voice RE20. It will easily and greatly drive those. So the noise floor on the Zoom F4 compared to the H4n Pro is the Zoom F4 has 127 decibel EIN versus 120. So it's going to be much quieter, and every 3 decibels you go is basically half of human hearing, so 2 times. So you're looking at a roughly 4 times improvement in the noise floor. So on the front we have the just a picture of the Zoom F4, and it comes in this gray slip cover. 6 inputs, 8 tracks. So this has 4 XLR microphone inputs and 4 TRS line level inputs. And these are combo jacks, just like on the Zoom H4n Pro had a combo jack, except the TRS on the F4 is line level. The TRS on the H4n Pro is instrument level. So there was really no way to get actual line level into the H4n Pro unless you used an attenuator and cranked the gain like all the way near 0. It was pretty crazy. And yes, they're also locking combo jacks, just like on the H4n Pro, whereas the H6 doesn't have a locking connector. It has another 3.5 millimeter input jack for inputs 5 and 6, which, you know, you have left and right that can make a stereo pair. So you can easily hook up phones, tape decks, whatever, by using a 3.5 mil to RCA cable. People all can also use it as a camera return, but I think it's more cool to be able to hook up phones, record phone calls, conferences, Skype, FaceTime calls, whatever you need to do. If you're doing a podcast and you have call-ins, people really overlook the 3.5 millimeter input, and we will be showing that in detail when we do the unboxing. So on the side we just have Zoom, and on the back just plain. When you get into professional level equipment, they don't really do a whole lot of the marketing on the packaging because, you know, you're not really selling this to consumers. This is mainly geared towards professionals, semi-professionals. This is actually used in the filmmaking world, on video shoots and stuff out in the field. They actually use this recorder along with other ones from like sound devices. But yeah, on the other side, just Zoom. On the bottom, it just says "We're for creators," and it's a gray slip cover, but the box is white. And on this side, you actually have some stuff, just your serial number, the UPC barcode, and it just says it includes Steinberg, Cubase LE, and Wave Lab LE, I believe, product keys for those, which, if you're interested in that. So I'm going to go ahead and get the slip cover off, and we will get on with this already. So as you can see, we have a white box that says F4, Zoom on the side, and literally the box, there's no writing on the box other than Zoom on the sides and F4 on the top, and it's just a plain white box, and it will slip off, which will, as you can see, we do have some like foam padding on the top here. But as you can see there, we have the recorder right here, and it's in like this this bag or whatever. You have the AC adapter, so you can power this from mains, but also has a Hiroshi connector, so you can use power banks, and I do have a power bank, and I will be showing that. So let's get out the power adapter first. Here's power adapter that comes with. This is the 80-19A/D AC adapter. That's a weird name, but okay. Just comes in a little white box, and then you have your typical standard power adapter, which I will show later. You have the recorder right here. I'm going to try to get it out. Like I said, it's in this black little bag. You have this nice foam cutout that keeps everything intact, so it's not going to get damaged in transit. Lift this up, and then in here we have a mounting bracket, which this is able to mount a camera on top or below, however you want to do it. I'm not going to use this mounting bracket. I don't need it. Then you have your manual and documentation. This tells you how to use the DC adapter, and it's funny because the adapter you need they put in here. They don't put it in the power adapter box, which I find kind of weird. So you have a DC barrel to Hiroshi adapter. I don't know why they don't just make the AC adapter just a native Hiroshi AC adapter. They make it just a standard DC barrel AC adapter, so you have to use this included adapter to convert it to be able to connect it to your F4. Kind of seems kind of odd after the fact kind of thinking there. And they don't even put this cable in the box of the the AC adapter. So yeah, okay. But we have our tells you all the included documentation. You know, we have the operation manual, which is a nice big one, so I'm able to see everything laid out pretty well. I'm going to keep this out of the box and set this aside because this thing has a lot of advanced features and getting through the menu and stuff, so you're going to actually want to see everything it can do. So it's good to actually look through this and learn your unit. What else we got? Just tells you don't use any other AC adapter and how to connect it to cameras and how to hook it up to mixing boards. It also shows your optional add-ons because this also has the proprietary Zoom connector for input 5 and 6 as well, so you can add an additional if you want to have an onboard microphone or you want to add 2 more XLR inputs. And I will be buying some of these adapters. I'll be buying the XLR input one and one of the included internal mics. And you have more documentation. Shows you how to hook it up to a camera mount, and then you have the stuff about the Cubase software down in there. So you just have your documentation. So I'll put all this back in the box, and we'll wrap this up and get to actually looking at the unit. Okay, so I now put the box back and kept out what we need. So as you can see, here is the Zoom H4, the front of the unit. And first, I must say that this unit, this is all metal. This feels like a premium product. It really feels solid. So on the front, you have your monochrome screen. You have your dial to navigate through the menu. You have the menu button, the headphone dial on the bottom. You have your each individual gain knobs for each individual input. So unlike on the H4n Pro, to where you didn't really have manual gain for each input and everything, this you can control each input. And you can turn each input on and off, which is really nice. You have just a bunch of options. You have these nice tactile buttons. This has a slate tone option, which is where you press it and it'll send a specified frequency on all the outputs, so you can either use it for syncing up video, for making a sync point, or you can use it to calibrate levels across all the inputs. Or if you're hooking this up to other equipment such as a camera, you want to sync up the audio levels with the camera or external recorders. On this side, we have the 4 XLR / TRS combo inputs. The XLR is mic level. The TRS inputs are line level. The line level inputs do not bypass the preamp. They will go through the preamplification stage. Just be wary. Whereas I believe the 3.5 millimeter line input bypasses the preamp. I'll have to confirm that with Zoom. If I'm able to confirm that with Zoom, I will let you know either in an overlay or in the description. So if you're interested, check the description for an update. If the 3.5 millimeter input bypasses the preamp, but I'm pretty sure it does based on what I've seen. On the back, we have two BNC connectors. This is for timecode. So this recorder actually also has timecode, which is a professional way of putting timestamps on video and audio to be able to sync everything up in post when doing video editing. So instead of having to say sync, 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 or having one of those clipboards to where you slap them down, they're called I believe they're called clapper boards. Instead of having to do a bunch of stuff and try to match up the audio waveforms, in the professional film industry, they run timecode on all the cameras and audio recorders, so that way everything stays in sync for multicam setups and professional setups. So this is actually really nice to have, as I have timecode. Fortunately, the camera setup I have can't utilize that, but when I get an external recorder for my DSLR, such as the Ninja Atomos recording system, that will be able to utilize timecode, and I won't have to be worrying about syncing stuff up. Boom, you pop it into your video editor, such as Vegas or Premiere Pro, and those should be able to utilize timecode and sync everything up instantly. So it's really nice that it has timecode. Now this has its own built-in timecode generator, and also accept timecode from external timecode generators, such as Tentacle Sync. So this is very nice and professional to have. You're not going to have that on the Zoom H4n Pro. The H4n Pro is more as like a consumer, prosumer type of equipment. This is more like semi/entry professional. So you're going to start seeing some more professional features on here. Like I said, this is used in filmmaking, mainly indie films, but this is utilized. And of course, also sound devices. Sound devices is kind of like the king in that field, but this is also getting in that field. And then we also have a battery compartment. This opens up, and I can tell that this actually is definitely new because it has this over it. Oh, I didn't mention the price of this. This originally goes for $650, but B&H has it on sale at $450 to $400. But guess what? This device is now EOL, end of life. Of course, whenever you go to buy something you want, it has to end up being end of life. Funny enough, you can't buy it at Sweetwater, Amazon, B&H, or any of those outlets anymore because it is sold out. But B&H literally had it like a week ago for $450, and I was gonna hop on it, but I didn't have the money at the time. Wasn't able to hop on it. I go to B&H's site now, discontinued. So I had to go on eBay and hope somebody still was selling them brand new and wouldn't rip me off. There was a seller called Audio Bargain, and they sold it to me for $530, and it said brand new, which brand new should mean never opened. It should mean new, and it appears to be that way. This does appear to be brand new because it has this on it. $530 is not the best deal, but I'm still getting it less than retail price, which is $650. I love to get it at the B&H price, but B&H sold them all out, and they're discontinued now, of course. So I wasn't able to do that. Sad face. But I also went to Zoom's website and looked at their authorized sellers, and they did list Audio Bargain on there. So who I bought this from was a legit authorized seller. So that means they're on the up and up, and they're a legit seller, not just somebody that had one and is selling it. No, this was actually somebody that's been verified, a company or whatever. So that's good. So it was a verified seller. But we have our battery compartment now. I will have to get this off. It's hard to do a video when I'm holding the microphone. I might have. Ideal situation would be have a big boom mic, but you have to have somebody to hold that and operate it for you. And I'm kind of like a one-man production. Another option would be a lavalier mic that clips onto my shirt. But those, like if you're moving around and stuff, those can pick up a lot of rustle and stuff. And quality-wise, they're not going to be as good as a proper, nicely handheld dynamic or condenser microphone. Those are obviously going to be a little bit better quality than a little lavalier microphone. But those are two additional options if I want to do audio, and I will look at both of those options in my arsenal later on down the road. But right now, I'm holding a handheld microphone when I do these videos, so I really have like one hand to work with. Now I could also put this on a on a microphone stand. That's another option as well. So sometimes I do put it on a microphone stand when I don't want to hold the microphone. But we have our battery compartment. This is just a thumb screw. This opens up on the back. And we have, this is where you can put, I believe it takes 8 AA batteries, but here's the thing. Nobody wants to be messing around with fucking batteries. That's like a consumer thing. So this also has a Hiroshi input. Where is it at? Oh, it's on the other side. Okay, we'll get there. But it also has a Hiroshi input, which is like a professional power input that's seen on, professional audio equipment, maybe some cameras. So you're able to hook up Hiroshi AC adapters and power banks and all types of things, which I do have a power bank, which I will show in a little bit. We're going to get there. But when you open up this compartment, you have the place to put 4 AA batteries. This is just a little cage that opens up and, standard AA battery compartment. But this also has the 2 SD cards in here, SD card slots, I should say. And this does support SDXC, which means extended capacity. So this can support up to 512 gig cards. So it's really good that they support XC because, the future for the device down the road, it's getting harder to buy like 4 gig, 8 gig cards. Everything starts out like 32 gig now. Another 5-10 years, everything's going to start at like 64 or 128. So it's good that they have, nobody's going to need 512 gig cards in this, but it's good that they have support for those because as technology evolves, it's going to be hard to get those cards in the future, those low capacity cards. So this won't become obsolete in like 10 years because, it will support those big cards, which is good. Now the Zoom H4n Pro can only support SDHC, so it can only go up to 32 gig cards, and it only has 1 card. This has 2, so you can do redundant recording. Say if one SD card fails, you have a backup, a spare. So in a lot of professional things, you're going to see redundancy. So it's really good that they have redundant SD cards. You can do backup recordings at like different levels. There's so much stuff you can do with it. It's really powerful. Not only does it have redundant SD card recording, it has redundant power. So you can use the Hiroshi input, but you can also use this as like a backup. You can have batteries in here to where if your Hiroshi power goes out, say your power bank fails or you have the AC adapter and the power goes out, it will instantly flip to the batteries in here, and it will basically act like kind of like a UPS in a sense. So you have redundant power available as well. So I might still populate this battery compartment. It's recommended to go with lithium AA batteries because those will last a lot longer than alkaline. Alkaline is pretty much the worst when it comes to capacity. So I will be getting some lithium batteries and putting in here. Even though I'll never use them, they'll act as a backup in case power goes out, your Hiroshi power bank. So I do recommend doing that. And that is nice. Just a little thumb screw keeps the compartment. I wish it was something that, like clicked into place. I think it'd be a little bit faster and have to fiddle with a screw every time, but minor details. And you also have your Zoom expansion, proprietary expansion connector, and it should just clip off. Well, maybe I'm not squeezing it hard enough. It's kind of hard to get off. Yeah. I'm not going to make a fool of myself, but you probably can't see it. But you have your Zoom expansion slot there, so where you can hook up those additional microphones and add 2 more XLR inputs. So instead of having 4, you'll have 6 XLR inputs. Now the additional 2 provided off the module will not have phantom power. And I believe the preamp is in the module. That's something else I need to verify with them is based on how I see it, the preamp would be in the module. And I don't know how good the preamp in the actual expansion XLR module is. That's probably like H6 level, so 120 dB EIN and probably like 55-ish gain. But if it does use additional preamps in the F4, it'll be excellent. So that's another thing I'll have to follow up with Zoom to see on, because I believe the expansion modules have their own built-in preamp. They use their own, which may not be up to the performance standards. That's something I'll have to verify. You also have your Kingston Lock, so you can lock this down to like a desk or a stand, like a cart. Why would you do that? Well, if this is at a school or whatever, or at a corporate business environment, it stops employees or students from stealing the device, walking out with it. It kind of locks it to company property. Studios can also do this as well to stop people, like studios that have rentals where people can come in and use the equipment. They might have a Kingston Lock to lock it to their stands and shit, so people can't walk out with it. So that's actually a really good feature to have. I won't use it because this isn't really, I'm not using it in a corporate environment. But if I had my own business and I had these, somewhere or whatever, I could lock it to like a desk or something. So it does have that feature available as well. A Kingston Lock. Nice touch. I believe the H4n Pro does not have a Kingston Lock. It's more of a portable little handheld device, whereas this is like a field portable recorder. Now on the other side, we have, here's where we're going to get into the meat and potatoes here. We have a 3.5 line level millimeter out. This is going to be, you can output this to like a external headphone amp. So if you're doing a podcast, you have like 4 buddies over or whatever, they all have their microphones hooked up. You can run this out to a headphone amp that has multiple headphone outputs, so every single person has a headphone and can listen. Kind of like if you see on Joe Rogan's show. Well, he only usually interviews 2 people at, one person at a time, but if you had a whole room full of people, they can all have the headphones on and listen to their audio to make sure, hey, they're talking to the microphone and everything can hear everything. Everybody can hear everybody okay. So you do have 3.5 millimeter line level out. You also have a 1/4 inch headphone out jack. So if you just want to hook up your headphones and monitor the levels, make sure everything's coming in clear and not distorting or the levels are set right. So you're not gonna be able to hook up your 3.5 millimeter headphones. You have to get an adapter for that, which I have an adapter coming. You have 2 XLR outputs as well if you want to hook this up to a mixer or another A to D converter. The caveat is these are consumer level outputs, consumer line level outputs, I should say, which I've never really seen consumer level XLR. Usually XLR line level outputs are always going to be professional grade line level, but in this case, they are consumer grade. Shouldn't matter if you're hooking up to a Lynx high-low or whatever, because a Lynx high-low can support both consumer and pro level line levels. And here we have probably one of my favorite features that's often overlooked. Like any Zoom video never really talks about it. They never talk about it. They just say, oh, camera return. No. This recorder, yes, it has 4 XLR inputs, but this is a 6-track audio recorder. So you have 4 inputs over here, and this actually has 2 because left and right, okay? That makes 1, 2, right? So everybody overlooks this little 3.5 millimeter jack here on this other side. And this can allow you to hook up a phone. It can allow you to hook up a tape deck, maybe a record player, vinyl. This is a line level input. This isn't like a mic, like for like a little microphone or whatever, lavalier mic or a little desktop mic that uses the TRS jack. No, this is a line level 3.5 millimeter in, and how you can hook up a tape deck, a cassette deck, or a record player or a phone. A phone, you'll use a 3.5 to 3.5 millimeter TRS cable, which I do have one laying around. I have a higher quality one coming, but Amazon delayed my order. Go figure. But to hook up a cassette deck, say you want to archive your tapes or archive your vinyl, you can use the 3.5 millimeter to RCA cable, which those are very common. And you can bring that in line level and you can archive that stuff. This is very often overlooked, and we will be testing this out. I have an iPod Touch 7th generation here because this actually has a native native 3.5 millimeter jack on it, whereas most modern phones don't have the headphone jack anymore. But you can get a dongle and be able to hook up your phone, your modern phone, to this Zoom. You just gotta get the dongle. But for simplicity's sake, I'm gonna use an iPod Touch 7th generation because it has a native 3.5 millimeter jack, and we will be doing a Hangouts call with Kyle or with somebody, whoever wants to be on the video. Who knows? Maybe Abe. So there's the sides of it. Now I'm going to get on how to power this device. You can use the included AC adapter. You have to convert this DC barrel to Hiroshi because this doesn't have a DC jack input. It uses Hiroshi. That's why I was saying, why don't they just include a Hiroshi power adapter? Why do you have to have an adapter on the included adapter? That just scratching my head. But I'm not going to use this. I actually went ahead and bought a power bank, one that is widely used with this recorder. So here is the power bank that I got for this unit. This is a Talent Cell YB120600-USB, although we won't be using the USB on this. And this is a, I believe is it a 6,000? Yeah, I believe it's a 6,000 milliamp hour, 12 volt power bank. And this has a DC barrel, but you can get a cable from Alvin's Cables. I will link these in the description for you. That will give you a Hiroshi output, which you can connect to the Zoom H4n Pro. This power bank is widely used with this recorder, and you can use this recorder for basically the entire day. I believe the battery life is like, depending on what your configuration is on the recorder, if you're using phantom power, if you're using timecode, what bit depth and sample rate you're using, if you're using the outputs on the F4, just depends on your configuration. If you turn off some of that stuff, you can greatly increase the life of your battery, stuff that you're not using. So you can probably get 8 to 12 hours, maybe even longer. I don't know yet, but I know people out in the field say they record all day long with this power bank with the F4. So I went ahead and got this power bank. This power bank is actually listed on Zoom's in the documentation for Zoom as being officially supported, and it gives me the recommended shutdown and nominal voltage settings to set on the Zoom F4 as well, which is great. So to hook this up, first you have the power switch. So if you turn this on, you can probably faintly, you can see the green. So this comes out of the box with like 75% power or whatever. So already out of the box, we can go ahead and power this unit. So to power it, what you're going to do is you're going to just connect this cable, this adapter that you got from Alvin's Cables, which is on Amazon. Like, it takes a DC barrel and then converts it to Hiroshi, and then you connect it to the Zoom F4 using the Hiroshi connector. Now, I've never used a Hiroshi connector, so hopefully it only goes on one way, and there's no wrong way of putting it in. Hopefully it's notched, but it's a learning process. We'll figure that out. So yes, it's notched, and I believe you have to screw it on to lock it. Maybe. Like I said, it's a learning experience. Oh. Maybe you have to push and screw. I know it's a locking connector. Yeah, there we go. You have to push in and screw, I believe. Yeah. That's not coming out now. Does it screw all the way in? I don't know. Easy way to find out. Let's go ahead and power this on. Power the power bank on. And let's go ahead and power on the F4 and see if this is connected right. And it is. Look at that. So as you can see, the Zoom F4 is powered on. It wants me to enter a date, but I will do that later because I'm going to check the firmware on this, make sure the firmware is up to date. If the firmware needs to be updated, Basically what you do is first have an SD card that has been formatted with the F4. So go ahead and just do the initial setup. Go into the menu options. I'm not going to really show you how to fully operate the unit and everything. I'm just going to demonstrate, just power it on and test it out. But you'll go into the menu options, go down to SD card. You'll format an SD card with the Zoom F4. Turn off the device, eject the SD card, pop it into your computer. You can use a SD card reader on your computer. And you'll go over to Zoom's website. I believe it's zoom-na.com. Go to the Zoom F4, scroll down to downloads. Download the latest firmware, and you're going to take that firmware file and put it on the SD card, just in the root of the SD card. Don't put it in any folders, just copy it to the root. Then once you have that done, you'll take this SD card, pop it in the first SD card slot number 1. Make sure there's not an SD card in number 2. So if there is, eject the number 2 SD card. Just have this SD card, the one with the updated firmware, put into slot 1. And then what you'll do is hold down the power and the play button at the same time. It'll pop up on the screen saying, hey, do you want to update to this version? This is your current version. You hit yes, run it for a few minutes, and let it go. Make sure you do have adequate battery power as well, or it's connected to AC power so you don't lose power when you go to flash it. Shouldn't take too long, maybe 30 seconds. So if that needs to be done with this unit, I will quickly demonstrate that. So it's already asking me to set a date and time, so you know what, I'm just going to hit, I'm going to check the version on this. So yes, the firmware on this is, you'll go to menu, and you'll go to system, and you'll go down to firmware, and it says system 1.10. So the current firmware for this is 3.0. So before I do anything with this unit, I'm going to go ahead and take this SD card, and I'm going to format it with this, the F4, and then we're going to go ahead and update the firmware on this, because this is using firmware 110. And I'm going to give you a better view here on the Zoom. So there we go. I got you a better view here. So let me go back out to the main menu here. So when it pops on, it'll tell you to set the time. You'll just move this this scroll wheel up here. You probably can't really see it because the lighting is a little bad. Minor details, right? But what you'll do is you'll just scroll this scroll wheel to the enter until the enter is highlighted. Press on this button, or on this scroll wheel, because it also acts as a button. And just keep the time as a default, because we're not going to mess with it yet. As you see, power shows it's halfway, so we might have to calibrate the power bank with this, using the nominal voltages and stuff in the power settings. That's extra stuff we can get into later. But you'll press on this menu button, and at the top you'll have Finder, but you'll scroll down to where it says System. You'll click on that. You'll just tap this scroll wheel. It acts as a button. And then you'll scroll, you'll scroll all the way down to where it says firmware version. Press on it, and see it says 110. And obviously the latest version right now is 3.0. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and back this out. I'm going to power this unit down by pressing the power button. Hold it in a few seconds. As you see, it says goodbye, see you. So I'm going to take this SD card that I have right here, and it's in a case. That's why you can't see it very well. I'm going to go ahead on the side where the battery compartment is. Well, it's actually on the back. You're going to take that, you're going to open up that compartment. Well, the door, I should say. You don't have to take the compartment out. So on the back of the unit, I'm just unscrewing it. I'm going to pop this SD card in, slot number 1. There's no other SD cards in the unit. Don't even really have to close the door. But this is an SD card. Make sure when you put an SD card in this, it's either brand new or doesn't have anything valuable on it, because we're going to format it. So make sure you have, if it's an existing SD card you had laying around, make sure there's nothing valuable on it and you got all that stuff copied off the system. So I'm going to go ahead and power this unit back on with the SD card in. And as you can see, this unit already boots a hell of a lot faster. Look at that, boom. It bitches that there's no SD card in the slot 2. That's fine, that's normal. But it did detect that we have an SD card in slot 1. But see how fast that booted? Booted in like, what, 5 seconds max? Whereas on the H4n Pro, that takes a good almost a minute to boot. So we'll click Menu. We'll go down to SD card. Tap on that. And I'm going to go down to Format. And then SD1. Are you sure? Yes. So that's going to go ahead and format the first SD card that I have in there. And that just makes sure it's in the native file system and everything for the SD card. So now I'm going to hit Menu and back out of this. And then now I'm going to power the unit down. So now that SD card is ready to have the firmware put on it. So I'm going to go into the computer and I'm going to go to Zoom's website, zoom-na.com, and download the firmware for the F4. Copy that file over to the root directory of this SD card, and then we'll pop this SD card and update the firmware. Okay, so I went and I put the latest firmware on the SD card. So I'm now going to install the SD card on the back. And SD card slot 1. Make sure there's no other SD card in. This is important. Just one SD card with the latest firmware in SD card slot number 1. Make sure you have adequate battery power or it's powered from AC. I'm going to go ahead and turn on the power bank. And to do this, what you got to do is you got to hold down the power button and the play plus button at the same time. Okay? So I'm going to hold down the power and the play plus button at the same time, and we're going to see what happens. Okay, so it complains about my power bank not having adequate power, but it does. It's just because the Zoom hasn't been calibrated for it yet. So let's go ahead and calibrate it for the Zoom. I'm going to go ahead and power the unit off, and I'm just going to power it on normally. And as you see, we're still on version 110. So to calibrate this, we'll go to Menu. System Power Source. And right here is where we need to change our shutdown. We're currently getting 10.7 volts. And if I look at the power bank, it has 4 out of 5 lights lit, so we're at probably 75-60%. Now, if I look at Zoom's official documentation for this power bank, let's see, this is the 126,000. I'll just say that 126,000. So the 126,000 shutdown voltage should be 10, nominal voltage should be 12. So we'll change this shutdown voltage to 10. Shutdown voltage should be 10. And then 12. Yep, so that is right. Go back out. I guess our power bank needs to be charged then. Okay, so I got it plugged into AC power now. So let's retry that again. So hold down the power and the play button at the same time. So as you can see on the screen right here, it's asking us, are we sure we want to upgrade from 1.10 to 3.0? We'll move the knob over to yes and then hit enter. So it's now going to update the firmware to the latest firmware version. We should be off to the races. Now I'm not sure what the deal with the power bank is, why it's, the percentage shows 4 out of 5 lit up. I mean, I haven't charged the power bank yet. I mean, it looks like it had some charge from the factory, so I mean it should not be showing only 10 volt output. So I'll look into that further. It probably just needs a full charge and be ran through. So I'll probably do a post-mortem on that. So I'm probably going to go put that on the power bank or power charger. and charge the power bank up. And hopefully I'll get better results after that. So as you can see, it now shows complete. So we're going to power the unit off. And then now we're going to power the unit back on. You don't have to hold down the play pause, just press the power button now. And as you can see in the bottom corner, it says version 3.0. It's still complaining there's no second SD card, but that's fine. So after we've done a firmware update, it's good practice to just go in and since it's a new unit anyway, I haven't set any settings up. Well, I played around you can't see it. I played around earlier with the 3.5 millimeter input, but we'll go down this. We'll go to System, and then Factory Reset, and we're going to go ahead and just do a factory reset on this. This will keep the new firmware, but it will just make sure everything's to defaults and stuff. We'll hit yes. It's gonna power it off. I don't know if it powers back on. It doesn't, so we're gonna power it on. There we go. And see, it still says version 3.0. So now it's been factory resetted. Everything's good. So it's wanting us to first set the date and time. Now, I believe this is, you set it in your time zone. So let me go ahead and I'm going to go to time.is on my tablet over here to pull the exact time. That is time.is. It's a good site to go to. Set that. It's 2020. 07 30. And then it will be, since it's 2 p.m., it's going to be 1400. It's going to be 14. And how I set these is I'll go 1 minute above what it's at. So 1444, and right when time.is goes from 59 to 60, I'll press the enter button. So it will, hopefully the seconds will be in sync. So 2020, July 30th, that should be correct. Yes, it is. And yep, 1444. We're almost there. 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60. There we go. So now, hopefully the clock is in sync and should stay in sync. So the first thing that we want to turn off is, you probably noticed that there's this little thing taken away up in the right-hand kernel. That is for timecode. If you're not using timecode, turn it off because it will just chew up battery. As you see, our battery now shows max because it's plugged into AC power. So I'm going to go to menu. I'll locate timecode. In mode, I'm just going to turn it to off. And then I'm going to back out. And hopefully timecode, now it says TC off, disappeared. So right away, that will help save on some battery life. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to output, and I'm going to disable all the outputs that I don't use. So we have main out. Main out is going to be the two consumer line level XLR connectors. So if you're not using the two XLR outs, we're going to go ahead and turn those off. And to navigate through the system, you use the scroll wheel to scroll up and down, and you press the scroll wheel to select, and to go back, you just press the menu button, if that makes sense. So there's sub out. Sub out is the 3.5 millimeter jack out. I'm not using that, so I'm going to turn that off. That's not for headphones. That's for the 3.5 millimeter line out. Like I said, you can use that to go to like an external headphone amp. I'm currently not using that, so I'll turn that off. And then you have all. Now, I'm not sure if all messes with the headphone amp. I'll have to look into that. So now I turn those outputs off. Okay. And let's see, you have your finder, metadata, input. Let's go to inputs. Okay, this is where you set all your inputs. I like to set these all manual. Plug-in power, make sure that's off. Stereo link, trim link, PFL mode, auto mix. I want to play around with auto mix, so I'll be turning it on a per channel basis. Input source,
So these all stay analog. That's good. I'm just looking through if there's any defaults that need to be changed. I know our outputs. Record and play. I don't have a second SD card in there, so I'm going to turn that off. And then SD1. It's defaults to polywave, but if your software doesn't support polywave, we'll put it to mono/stereo. You can also do a stereo mix wave, which will work similar to the mono mix on the Zoom H4n Pro. But with doing the mono for each track, or the single file for each track, you can say if one mic was picking up noise, you can easily isolate. Or say if one mic's level is too low, you can easily just boost that particular mic and not the overall track, the overall master. So I'll keep it on mono because my video editor doesn't support polywave. Maybe in the future it will. So sample rate 48, that's good. Wave bit depth 24, yes. And 20 dual channel mode, pre-record off. File max size, that should be default of 2 gig. Yeah, that's correct. We'll back out of that. Time counter, I'll actually put this to continuous. Play mode, play all. Do play 1. I'm just changing some defaults. I'll go through and fine grain tune everything the way I want it. And once you edit everything to the way you want, you can go through and back up the settings to the SD card. So system, power source, I have to go through and clean that up. Level meter. Oh, peak only 2 seconds. Yeah, I'm gonna be changing the level meter on the front. LCD brightness, or LED brightness, that changes the brightness of the LEDs, which I haven't gone through yet. Play key, date time, auto power off. Firmware version, which we click on firmware version, now says 3.0, which is good. SD card. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and reformat that SD card just to start over with it, just have a clean, fresh start. Okay. So let's get into, like I said, this isn't a video to go over all the settings. This is just initial unboxing and test it out. I just changed some initial settings that I thought should be changed, especially to save on battery power. So by default, it's going to show you your gain. So if I let me zoom it out here. So if I start turning this knob, you'll notice the trim also turns up on the other one. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to make sure all these are zeroed out. And what I'm going to do is we are going to start testing this new one. So I'm currently recording audio through the Zoom H4n Pro. I have a dynamic XLR microphone hooked up. I'm using an Electro-Voice ND76. But for the Zoom F4, I'm going to try to match the caliber of quality. Well, I'll probably even go a little bit above the quality of the F4. I'm going to try to get the best handheld, well, arguably one of the best handheld microphones. I'm going to connect the Neumann KMS105 to it, and we're going to test that out. So to start out, I'm going to hook up an XLR cable into input number 1, which it's really hard to see because of the lighting, but this one, clearest to the front, is input number 1. So I'm using Mogami XLR cables, the best. And I'm going to go ahead and hook up my headphones on the other side. Like I said, it defaults to 1/4 inch, but I do have an adapter handy. So this will convert your 1/4 inch to 3.5 mil. This actually came from a pair of Audio-Technica headphones. I have an official adapter coming, but Amazon was late on the shipping. So on the table here, we have a pretty high-end microphone. I'd say definitely a notch above the ND76. I have a dust cover on it, of course, because whenever you have audio equipment, nice audio equipment, you like to take care of it. And all microphones should have a dust cover over them to keep dust out of the capsule and stuff. So that is highly encouraged. So I know there's a lot of people that have Yetis and they sit on their desk and they never think to put a dust cover over it when they're done using it. Well, dust will collect into the mic capsule and degrade it over time. So obviously this is the Neumann KMS 105. It's a condenser microphone. So condenser microphones are going to be more sensitive than this dynamic microphone, so it might pick up more background noise, a little bit of the background noise, but it should be more of a non-issue because it's a handheld condenser, not a full-fledged condenser. So we're going to go ahead and hook this up to the F4 and test F4 out. So I have my Mogami cable plugged into XLR input number 1, and make sure you don't turn phantom power on while you're connecting the microphones. Make sure you turn that on after the microphones are connected. That's just a tidbit. It's not good to plug in a microphone when phantom power is engaged. Okay, the microphone's connected. I'm going to go ahead and turn on phantom power. To turn on phantom power, it's really simple. What we'll do is on the front, we'll first turn on input number 1. We'll engage it. You just press the number 1 button on the front and it will light up red as it does. And then you're going to press the little PFL button that's right next to the input. And we're going to go ahead and go down. And I'm going to go to where it says phantom. And I'm going to make sure that voltage says 48, which it does say 48. Power savings is off. I'm going to go ahead and turn phantom power on. So phantom power is now being engaged in the Neumann KMS 105 at 48 volts. We'll go back out. High pass filter, I'm not going to mess with any of that stuff yet. Input limiters, keep that off. Stereo links off. PFL mode, PFL. Okay, so phantom power should now be applied and analog in. Good. So I'm going to go back out. I'm going to change my view. By default, it defaults to trim view. You just move the knob once to see your levels. And also you have the little LEDs above each channel. So I'm going to start talking into the KMS 105 and make sure the levels are correct. You're not going to hear the KMS 105 yet because we're not engaged on it. But I'm going to start turning up. I'm going to hold the KMS 105. Okay, so I'm holding the KMS 105, and you can see this is already starting to light up a little bit. So I'm going to keep moving this until my levels start coming in to around where I need to see them. I need to see them around about ooh, that's a little bit hot there. Okay. I need to see, ooh, yeah, this easily drives it. I need to see it around there. There we go. Okay. Maybe a little bit hot. There we go. Okay. Ooh. Okay. Ooh, starting to cloud. Okay, so this thing easily drives it. You want to when you're peaking, you want it to peak around 12. Okay, so we're now going to switch over to Neumann KMS 105. I'm going to press the record button here in 1 second. Okay, so I'm going to press the record button. And we are now recording with the Neumann KMS 105. So I have the gain pretty much right in the center, right at 12 o'clock. And at 12 o'clock, it easily drives this microphone. Now, I do have the microphone pretty close to my my mouth. It's probably like 6 inches, if that, from my mouth. So I am holding the microphone at a decent proximity. As you can see, the power LED lights up nice and red. And I'm going to change a camera view to get a better camera view for you guys here. So let me go ahead and do that. Okay, so I changed the camera view to make it a little bit better. And as you can see, I have the knob at literally about halfway. Let me actually move it to demonstrate. Yeah, if I go back to trim. So I have the gain at about 44, 43, and it's easily driving this microphone from what I'm seeing. I can try to turn it up a little bit if I'm not too loud. There we go. So now we're starting to get a little bit hot. We're getting a little bit hot around 46-ish. So this F4, it drives it easily. It's easily driving my Neumann KMS 105. And as you see, our first channel is engaged, and it easily drives it. It's beautiful. It's flawless. I like it. And you can change the screen view. You just move the knob once. and now you're at your levels. As you can see, we have the levels. And the backlight will turn off on a predefined setting, whatever you have it set at. But yeah, this is Neumann KMS 105. It should be sounding pretty nice. I do have it really close to my voice. Or not voice. I have it really close to my mouth. The AC just kicked on, so you might have heard the AC kick on. The noise floor on this is much better compared to the Zoom H4n Pro. And the amount of gain I have, much better. You can easily hook up a Shure SM7B. Those are really popular for dialogue, voiceovers, podcast. You're going to see a lot of YouTubers have a Shure SM7B or the Electro-Voice RE20, which we both know both of those microphones, especially the SM7B, is a microphone that's very hard to drive. People have to have cloud lifters in order to use those, usually, unless they have a good preamp, which most people just use the preamps built into their audio interface, which are absolute dog shit. But the preamps in the F4 are definitely going to be professional level. They are going to be able to easily drive the SM7Bs and the RE20s of the world. And no cloud lifter, none of that bullshit. Nice. Whereas the H4n Pro and even the H6, the H6 is basically the same performance as the H4n Pro, but it's the H6 basically just has additional inputs, and you can control each individual input, the gain, where you don't really have that available in H4n Pro. But yeah, this is the test. I hope it sounds really good. I hope it sounds really clean. We're going to go ahead and also show off the 5 and 6 input on the side, the 3.5 millimeter input. I'm going to try to place a call. I also have a little portable AM FM radio that we will be hooking up as well, just to demonstrate the 3.5 millimeter input. Okay, so I am back, and we are going to demonstrate how to hook up and use input 5/6, which is a 3.5 millimeter line level input. You can hook up phones, tape decks, vinyl, whatever the hell you want to hook up to it. Record calls, whatever you want to do. It also doubles as the proprietary Zoom input, and the proprietary Zoom input is what will allow you to hook up the additional 2 XLR connectors or any series of Zoom's microphones, such as the internal microphones or the shotgun mic. But I think the 3.5 millimeter is a little bit more interesting. So the fridge did kick on now, so you might hear the refrigerator. And I do have headphones plugged in, so hopefully it's not picking up the sound from my headphones. I did notice that this headphone amp, I wasn't hearing myself, and I was like, why wasn't I hearing myself? You really have to crank the gain up if you're using microphones. But the line level input, I plug in the line level input and crank that up, and I hear myself just fine. So it's like, okay, that's interesting. But the headphone input or headphone amplifier in this isn't the best, which doesn't matter. That's a playback thing. You can use the 3.5 millimeter. They call it sub out, but use the 3.5 millimeter line out to an external headphone amp and get better results. And I might do that. I might hook up my FiO A5 to this in the sub out and use the sub out, because this built-in headphone amplifier is not the best. Although when I had line level hooked up, I heard it just fine. So I might demonstrate hooking up a headphone amplifier to this. So I have my FiO A5 headphone amplifier right here, and really nice headphone amplifier. So I can use the 3.5 millimeter cable and plug it into the sub out, and I'll just have to turn the output back on. Hopefully I can do that while I'm recording. Test. Oh wow, yeah, that is much better. So when I use, oh wow, that's 100% better. Damn. And yes, I can hear the refrigerator. But when I use the sub out to an external headphone amplifier, such as my FiO A5, using 3.5 millimeter to 3.5 millimeter to connect it, it is a night and day difference. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the headphone volume on the F4 all the way down, because why run the headphone amplifier in it? It just chews up space. And yeah, there is a lot of background noise. The condenser microphones are going to pick up more noise compared to dynamics. I'm going to go ahead and pick up this microphone. Ignore the refrigerator, but wow, the quality. Wow, this sounds really clean. Really clean. Minus the refrigerator being on. Like I said, it's not all just about the gear. It's also about the recording environment. And, you know, if you're recording in the fucking bathroom, people are going to notice. Professional audio engineers are going to know when you're not in an ideal situation. But, yeah, the quality of these mic pre's are pretty damn clean. And I'm using a Neumann KMS 105. And I had the volume, and it's sitting around 12 o'clock, a little bit past 12 o'clock. But we are going to go ahead and we are going to demonstrate the 3.5 millimeter input. I'm going to see if my friend is available to do this test. So let me message me. Are you available? So I just messaged him on my iPhone 5, or not my iPhone 5. My iPod Touch 7th generation, which has a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack native on it. I mean, I could use my phone, but I have to have a dongle, and I don't have the dongle yet, and Amazon delayed it, and blah, blah, blah. End of story, right? So I'm just going to use a device that has a native 3.5 millimeter jack. You're going to need a 3.5 millimeter to 3.5 millimeter TRS cable. As you can see here, this would be that cable, which it's probably not focused because it's, you know, searching for focus or whatever. But I just had this one laying around. I have a better quality one coming. Amazon delayed the shipping on it. But you'll plug one end of this into the hopefully he says yes. He's messaging me. You'll plug one end of this into the input 5.6 on the side, and the other end into, he says he's available. Good. And you'll plug the other end into your device. So if I turn this around, you can see it's kind of getting a little bit crazy here on the side. I have my FiO A5 headphone amplifier on the top, sitting on the top of this, and it's using the sub out. And trust me, night and day difference. You're not going to want to use the built-in headphone amplifier. It's just, you have to crank it all the way just to hear yourself, pretty much. But I'll go ahead and plug, so you'll have one end TRS, plug it into this input 5.6. You'll plug the other in your device. I have an iPod Touch 5th generation, which you can't see, but there you go. You can probably see it now, kind of. I'll have to zoom out and readjust the camera. But let me go ahead and readjust the camera view. So I've readjusted the camera view, and as you can see, we have our 3.5 millimeter plugged into input 5.6. I'm going to go ahead and plug the other end into the headphone jack on my iPod Touch 7th generation. Oh, damn it. Don't tell me I have to take this case off. I might have to take the case off to access it. That could be another issue, is if you're, depending on what cable you have, if it will fit all the way. Depending on your fucking case, I might have to take my case off, which I'm not too thrilled about. Okay, so I took it out of the case. Hopefully the cable I order isn't as thick or whatever, so it'll fit inside the case. That's another thing. When you get 3.5 to 3.5 millimeter TRS cables, make sure the TRS cable is small enough if you have a case, but most days you're using a dongle, so it's a non-issue. But this is an iPod Touch 7th generation. I'm going to go ahead and plug it in. During recording, you can't mess with the inputs. I don't think I can turn on input 5.6. Maybe I can on the fly. If I can, that's pretty fucking dope. Let me see. No, it does not allow me to do that. So I'm going to have to stop this recording and go back and do it. So I just have it hooked up, plugged in, 3.5 millimeter, and I'm going to go ahead and hook up this iPod. Okay, so to turn on the 3.5 millimeter input 5.6, you'll just press the little input 5.6 button up here, and it'll say input off. You select on that and turn it to on, basically. That's all you really got to do with input 5.6. So I'm going to go ahead and give Kyle a call. And as you can see, it's already pops into the system. We'll make sure our levels are correct. So I'm ringing Kyle Rohrer here. Hopefully he picks up. Hello, Kyle. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello.
Welcome.
Mister?
Welcome to the YouTube video. How are things going?
Doing okay. How about you?
Doing all right. I currently have the iPod Touch 7th generation hooked up to the Zoom F4 professional audio recorder. So, Kyle, is there anything you wanted to say?
Oh, nothing much. Have a nice Coca-Cola.
Yeah, and I'm drinking plenty of Coca-Cola while I'm making this video. You should see all the wires I have hooked up to this thing. It's like I have like 50 wires plugged into it and everything. And
Oh, wow.
I got cameras all around, and it looks like I'm almost in like a studio. LOLs.
Well, you should have a studio.
Yeah. I noticed the input levels from the iPod Touch aren't as hot as they were from my portable recorder. I do have the volume up all the way, as you guys can see in the video. I'll just have to amp him in post. Not a big deal. But I'm still learning about all the levels and how to match the levels up on the F4 with the iPod Touch. This is the first time hooking it up. But yeah, Kyle, I do hear you through it. I have headphones plugged into the F4, so it is picking you up. So I just wanted to test this feature out. You can hook up your phone, hook up anything you want, and be able to record it along with your video. Isn't that a pretty cool feature, Kyle, to be able to hook up your phone, record it easily?
Yes, that is a great feature to have.
Well, Kyle, I didn't want to keep you for too long. I know you're busy running your businesses and you have all your mansions and stuff, so I didn't want to keep you for too long.
Yeah.
So I'll let you go now unless there's anything else you want to say.
That's about it. Have a great day and talk to you later and enjoy Coca-Cola.
You sound a little hyper, Kyle. You on something?
No, just with coffee, you know.
Oh, okay. That will do it. Okay, so have a good day, Kyle. Thanks for
Yep,
being on the video.
Yep, and no problem. And enjoy the video.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Yep, you too.
Bye.
Bye.
So that was a test hooking up the iPod. I noticed the levels weren't as hot, and I did have the volume all the way up. So I'll have to play with the levels. So we're also going to test out hooking up the portable AM/FM recorder I have sitting around as well. So I have just a little portable AM/FM recorder from Kato. I think this thing was like $9 or something. These sell a lot. They're just tiny, AM and FM. So I'm going to go ahead and hook this up and see if we can. You see, it does have a headphone jack, so I'll just plug it in there. And already we're getting a little bit of noise here. Yeah, that line's a little noisy. So let me go ahead and. Sounds like we have a ground loop hum. Oh, it went away. So if you have this, oh, it's the antenna picking up interference. See, this thing's so cheap. When you have something really cheap like this, it's going to pick up noise. It picks up interference from surrounding stuff. Like if I put this really close to the Zoom F4 and stuff, it'll probably pick up some interference and make noise. So, yeah. I think it's also the headphone socket's not really the highest quality on this. But I'll go ahead and turn it on to FM. Okay. I can't play any music because of copyright. I'll go ahead and turn that down. I can't play any music because of copyright reasons. I'm going to try to find like a talk show. If I can't find one, I did record this earlier, so I can overlay that as well. So let me go through the dial here. Yeah. There we go. It's picking up a little interference. Oh. There we go. So as you can see, that is coming in really nice and hot. So I hooked it. That was just a quick test. It does have a little bit of like a hum to it, like a ground loop hum. It's picking up interference from something, or it could be because this cable is like right next to the AC power. Like I said, I'm going to be getting a higher quality cable. It could also be the cheap ass AM/FM radio. So let me go ahead and unplug it. So you can probably hear that little hum. Of course, I'll clean it up in post. But as soon as I unplug it, the hum goes away. Now, there might be a little tiny bit of hum remaining, and that is also because you do have this. This is, unfortunately, it's not coming, the power is not coming from the power bank, so it's not getting a clean DC power. It's getting it from AC, so you're going to have AC hum. I will be applying a ferrite cores to all this stuff. When I get all, like I said, this is just a test out of the box. I don't really have it fully set up and done yet, but I'll be adding ferrite cores to all the power cables and everything else. Try to clean up further. And I have noticed that the refrigerator is now off, so hopefully I do sound better. I'm gonna actually I'm gonna turn my headphones down. We'll turn the headphone amp down because I really don't need to hear myself right now. But I should be coming in nice and clean and clear. Hopefully this sounds good. I do have the microphone really close to my voice. I do have the microphone in close proximity, as you can see. And as I said, the gain's only about at 50%. So this has plenty of gain to drive microphones. And I know this KMS-105 wasn't the easiest to drive with my interface. I had to get an external preamp because on the interface you had to have that thing clocked at like 3 or 4 o'clock to get any usable levels that I would want out of it. So but yeah, I mean, I love this thing. This F4, you can easily hook up phones to it. Easily plug it right in. Don't have to worry about fucking adapters and all this other bullshit. I wish I didn't have to take my iPod out of the case. I just need to find a thinner cable. Hopefully, the one I'm getting will be able to plug right in when I do that. I also have a dongle coming from my phone, and I mean, I could have also used my tablet. My tablet's not in a case. I could have used that. I wasn't thinking about that. I should have checked that before I made the video. But anyway, I should wrap this up pretty soon. I will be playing around with the power bank. I'll fully charge it, and I'll go in, set some power levels, and see if that 10 volts pops back up to the 12 volts where it needs to be. But the power bank was showing 4 out of 5 lights lit, so it should still be, in that ballpark. It shouldn't be all the way down there 10, because 10's about where it's starting to lose power. But maybe Zoom recommends setting it at 10, so maybe it should be lower. I don't know. It's kind of interesting. I like I said, I'll dig deeper into that to get more specifics. I need to play around with this unit more. I need to get familiar with it and all its quirks and all the good things about it. Like I said, the headphone amplifier. I recommend hooking up your own. I hooked up my FiO A5. Oh, fucking amazing. Sounded way, way, way better. I was able to fully hear myself. It was clear. I probably actually should turn off input 5 and 6 because you don't want to have any inputs turned on when you're not using them because it just, adds to noise floor. So this isn't fully ideal because input 5 and 6 is turned on. But anyway, that's going to wrap it up for this. This has been a test, or not a test. This has been an unboxing and initial test of the Zoom F4. And in the background sits my Zoom H4n Pro, which is turned off now because, like I said, we've been recording on the F4 now. And I'm not going to get rid of my Zoom H4n Pro. I'm going to keep it for backup or other projects. I like to have audio equipment in my arsenal. Okay, just because I upgrade and get something better doesn't mean I get rid of the older stuff. They all have their use cases, and I certainly will be holding on to my Zoom H4n Pro as well. But here going forward with my videos, I'll be using the Zoom F4. I'm going to get a little bit more accustomed to it. Learn how to get the best out of it. It can do a lot, and I haven't even gone through 90% of the things that it can do. I just, turned it on, did a couple default settings, But this can do a lot of things. And like I said, it has timecode available. I'll be looking to utilize that later on when I upgrade my camera equipment and maybe upgrade my video editor. Maybe I'll move to Premiere Pro. The thing about Premiere Pro is I don't like having to pay for a subscription. I want to buy the software and own it. Everything's going subscription. Well, fuck that. But anyway, this has been a test and look at the Zoom F4. If you guys have any questions or want additional tests done, let me know, and I will do those in the future. I did want to test out that 3.5 millimeter input as well, and we did. We hooked up the iPod Touch 7th, and we hooked up the little AM FM radio, which you saw had a little bit of ground loop. I don't think it was doing that earlier. It was picking up a little bit of interference, but it wasn't making that hum earlier. It could be because it's in close proximity to the AC power and everything, because earlier I was running this off the power bank and it didn't have that hum. And I don't think it had that hum when we hooked up the iPod Touch 7 either. But I'll check it out in post and make refinements to the things that I need to do. Like I said, I'll be adding ferrite cores and everything, clean stuff up. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys. We'll catch you in the next one.